Hi guys, and welcome to the PG Podcast. I'm recording this on Monday, which is yesterday if you're seeing this on Tuesday, but this actual podcast with Ruthie was recorded last Thursday before our roof blew off our church. Ruth is actually in the back seat of my car complaining that the adjuster is taking too long right now and she's mad about it. But I know that this is divine. I know that if you're watching, it's because God knows that there'll be those times in your life when you don't know how to do your job alone, or you don't know how to get volunteers or how to get people equipped to do what you've called them to do. And the work of ministry is hardly a pulpit. That is the smallest part. No matter what anybody tells you, it is the smallest part of the kingdom of God is standing up there, or one of the smaller parts. The kingdom of God is alive and happening 24/7. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and please feel free to share it and subscribe on YouTube. Today, I'm so honored to have one of my favorite female ministers on the planet right here with me in the studio. Some of you who go to HopeNYC know her as Miss Ruthie, and that's right, Ruthie right here.
Hi. Hello, guys.
But those of you in TV land and those of you in YouTube land who don't know her, this is Ruth Archibald BANGAROO. She could have talked on 50,000 points today. But I've asked her to come here specifically today to address something that so many of you have reached out to me and said, Pastor Sharo, if I could change one thing, if I could do anything in ministry, if I needed anything, this is what it would be. And she's here to help us with that particular issue. What is it? It's a team. It's how do you build, how do you maintain, how do you mobilize a team? Because what you're trying to do all by yourself seems like a daunting task for one person. A lot of you who are already in ministry said to me that it's hard to find people who will volunteer and stay committed, or it's hard to find people who would share your vision. Those of you who are working by yourself say it's hard to find anybody who would come alongside you and be able to walk with you. So that's Ruthie's area of expertise, and that's why I've asked her to come on this set today and to help you preacher girls with this aspect. So if you're ready to find out how to build a brilliant team and how to make sure that the work is spread out, then stay tuned. You're in for a treat. Hi, Ruthie.
Hi, Pastor Sharo.
So I gotta tell you a joke about Ruthie before we jump into the interview. So whenever she's like, her shoulders become earrings whenever she gets in front of a camera, and we say to which her, we say, Ruthie, act natural. She's like, this is natural.
This is natural.
Like 100% of the time, it's how she is. But I'm gonna try. I told her she could sit with her leg, propped up and stuff, so that she could feel natural and taller. I don't know if this has worked for you, but it turns out that the less serious that people try to take you, or the more of a joke they try to make of you, is the more that the Lord steps in to cause you to become everything they need to hear. Does that happen to you?
Absolutely. Day to day, I see it all the time when I'm talking to vendors or clients. The first thing, I walk into a room and like dealing with our new CNC designer. I walk into the room and he's taller. I'm Indian, I'm short, I'm small, and I can already see it on his face. What does this girl know about anything?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to tell him about, what we do because of the wealth of knowledge here at Hope that I've learned. And he's like, he's taken back in his face. And that's God. That has nothing to do with me, because that knowledge came from here. Yeah. And the fact that, I can use it, the Lord has just put that in front of me. And I feel like when I go, they don't really see me. Like he lets them see someone else.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like too, that makes you perfect to push all the glory God's way. You know what I'm saying? Because if you were a 6'4" blonde guy with blue eyes and you walked in there, you'd get attention. Mm-hmm. They'd think, well, you know something. Or even if you're a tall, robust African-American man, you have a commanding voice. But I heard you say you're a short little Indian girl. I'm like, what do you know? And when people hear knowledge coming out of you, they automatically have to know there's some, greater force, and it's God that has given you the opportunity. So Ruthie's been saying that the knowledge that she's acquired, she got it here, but that's That's true to an extent in some areas, but you had a lot of knowledge before then. So give us a little bit of your background before we jump into your team building.
So a lot of my background, I spent 18 years on Wall Street working for Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest investment firms on Wall Street. Now, how I got my foot in the door is crazy because I was still in college, just getting my undergraduate, and I walked into Goldman Sachs and I gave them my resume and I said, I'll apply for any open position. That's crazy. And then the next day I got called and I got hired. And I started my way working at Goldman Sachs in a very small capacity. And I worked my way up to banking positions and then into the sales and trading. So financially, I was doing pitch books for big board meetings, big companies, mergers and acquisitions, sales and trading. So I had a lot of opportunity there. Wherever there was one that said, here, try this, I would go out and just say, okay, I'm going to do it. And I really did that because I wanted to prove the stereotype wrong that small statured Indian girls or small females couldn't take a lead in a position or be a project manager or manage people. So I first wanted to find a home for Kevin, my son, to go to vacation Bible school or for something for him to do in the summer. I ended up actually sleeping out and camping on the streets for a public one. And then HopeNYC had just moved into my neighborhood.
So in New York, you do things like that.
Yes.
By the way, to get your kid into a summer camp, you'll go spend the night on the street waiting to be first in line. Yes. Those of you who are watching in other states and countries, you don't know why on earth anybody would do that, but New York moms do things like that.
That's right, you do it. So I was literally online the entire night on the street sleeping and got to the doorway for them to tell me they had already filled every spot.
Oh my God!
I know.
It's like a concert.
Yeah. But HopeNYC had just moved in to my neighborhood and they had given out flyers and my husband had one and he goes, you should check them out. He said to me the strangest thing, he said, they're very, very smiley and very friendly. And I said, that's kind of strange for New Yorkers because not everybody's like that. So I walked in and yes, they were very happy. And and it was great. I signed Kevin up. He went to vacation Bible school. And Kevin really was the one who encouraged me to come to HopeNYC. And I walked into a service and I saw a pastor preaching, singing, doing it all. And I was like so moved. Holy Spirit moved. I was so moved. I knew it was going to be my home. So from then on, I have been at HopeNYC since then. That's about 10 years now.
Yes. Wow. That was 10 years ago. And Hope is only 11. So it tells you just how early in the game she was here. Now, when she first came, we had no teams, right? And the question that we're addressing today is how, one, if you already are in a setting where there are workers, that you can mobilize them as a unit. And two, if you're all by yourself, how do you get things done when you're alone? So let's start here. For those of you who have not started yet, you know you're called, and if God calls you, no one can uncall you. You know that you have a ministry or a business, but you're overwhelmed. There's too much going on in your world and in your life that you don't think you can do what somebody else does all by yourself. I just want to go back to what Ruthie said. When she walked into Hope, I was preaching and I was leading worship and I was picking up the offering and baking, whatever it is that needed to be done. I was doing all of it at the same time. Right now, God has blessed us with a team. We have people that come in, and I have people that help us do this podcast. But most people, when they start off on YouTube, they have nobody. It's a cell phone and it's them. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need a team. If you are called, you can start all by yourself with only what you've got. And what do you think about that, Ruthie? Have you ever found yourself in a place where there's nobody else but you, but God saying, this is how it goes?
Definitely. There are a lot of times when we're talking, and I'll be practical about it, we're talking about a vision or something the Lord dropped in your spirit, like the parade and we didn't know, or a toy drive or things like that we don't know where to start, what to do, or how to even mobilize or what. It's daunting at times. The vision starts there, but then my mind starts turning how, why, where, when, and God just kind of takes control, and somehow it's like I see it once I hear the heart of it. And that's the thing. I think once I hear the heart of it, I know where to go next, or like kind of like I feel the passion because it's driving. But oftentimes you're the one with it. You're the one with that seed God put in you. You're the one that God gave you something to do and you don't know how to do it. The first thing is to just take a step. Just take the phone, pick it up, and do it now. Don't wait. Because the more you put it off, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow, that's when the enemy comes in and tries to swoop out that seed and says, keep waiting, it's late. Or if you're thinking about going back to school, whatever it is that God has put in your spirit to do, you think it's too much, you think it's daunting, it can't get done, take one step towards it. Every day, keep doing one little thing, and you'd be surprised how quickly it turns into something that snowballed into, wow, I did that. That happened.
And she said something else, which I think all of you preacher girls need to hear. She said what gets her, what why's, how's, who's, and when's working is when she hears the heart of it. Sometimes we think nobody wants to help us, and we actually label it as you being a lone ranger, when the truth of the matter is God gave you a vision that you don't know how to share. Nobody knows the heart of what you're trying to do. They know you're trying to do a thing. They may know, okay, you're trying to feed some people, or you're trying to have a VBS. But if people don't know the heart, and in preacher circles we call it casting the vision, but I think it's way more than casting a vision. It's literally breaking open the heart of what God has put in your spirit, because unless somebody feels it and can express it, then someone else can't run with it. You know, it's like God says in the word, he's in Habakkuk, he says, write the vision, right? But the next line says, make it plain. You know what make it plain means? It means use allegories, use examples, use illustrations. Make sure that the simplest person understands very plainly what the vision looks like. You can't just say we want to reach the world with the kingdom. Who does it? Who does it? But you have to make it so plain what the vision God put in your heart is, so that people, let me show you an example. If I went to Ruthie and say, I want to send 10,000 toys all over the world for kids, yay!
Yes.
She would have been like, and then call her husband and say, I'm working for a crazy lady and I need to get me out of here as soon as possible. But that's not the vision. That wasn't the vision. It wasn't to send toys. No. You know what the vision was? I remember my first doll. I remember the day somebody came to my country and gave me a doll, and what it did for me, and it made me realize that there is a Father, God, that loves me so much that he would make a perfect stranger come and bless me with something. I remember the day I told her that.
Yes.
I remember her face when she thought, wow, I remember that day too. And then I said, I want to do that for as many people and as many kids as we can do that for. And she got it, and then she ran with it. Yeah. So Hope does a toy drive for 10,000 pieces of toys, and the church gets the credit, but the girl does the work. So Ruthie's gonna tell us, how on earth does something as small as a kid getting a doll become something as large as 10,000 toys going on? Just the mere logistics, can you think about it? Buying the toys, figuring out where they're going, ports on authority in every country. How do you decide among all the countries in the world who gets the toys? Who do you hook up with? How do you know they're not selling it? You know, just a million ramifications. How do you pick people to work with you that don't steal your toys? I mean, what about all those questions? What's the first piece of advice you'd give to somebody who's already in a ministry context with volunteers? How do they get people to catch their vision?
I would say the very first thing is to include them in the process. Like Pastor said, have that conversation. Relationships breathe ground for so much. You want to get them in the ground level from the very beginning.
That's so good.
That's like right there, because having the idea and not being able, as soon as you have it, share it, start telling and talking, and because that's going to spark things in them and empower them to come up with the ideas and to include them in the process. Give them some ownership in it. And I think that's why I love the toy drive, because you've allowed me to have some ownership in it. Yes, there's lots of logistics that happen behind it, and there's a lot of things that happen, but I the ownership, the fact that I know that at the end of it, some kid gets a toy, just like I did. And that seed, we may not see that seed today, tomorrow, we don't know when, but it's a seed.
Yeah.
It's for the kingdom.
And I know she does that because you do the same thing. We do the same thing in the parade.
Yeah.
Right? On December 8th this year, thousands of people will line the streets to see a parade. But it began with a bunch of people sitting in the fellowship hall coming up with ideas. And even though all the floats go down and the world says, wow, Hope did it,
Right.
what they don't realize is somebody owned every piece of that.
Absolutely.
Or is that what you're talking about when you say give them ownership?
I'm talking, yes, give them ownership, empower them to be creative, empower them to think, empower them to make a change and do something. The mindset of a volunteer versus a partnership is different, because I think people think volunteers come in and that's what we want. You know, as a church body, we want volunteers, but we want partners, because that really breeds the ground for next level success.
Right.
That's engagement. That is them coming back again. And that's what I think the culture at HopeNYC breeds. We do it together.
Yeah.
We don't just say, here's a thing and I'm going to leave you to do it, sink or swim, whatever. We do it together, because I give you enough to run with it, but then I follow back up with you and I say, hey, how did that go? And even if you're not sure, I bring some of my ideas and I give you some experience and I give you some teaching, and we do that as a team. Or we say, you know what, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but let's find out. Let's Google, let's search, let's see how we can do this. Because this year, one of the practical things was we gave a lot of new people floats. A lot of our new guys and our new women are taking on parade floats, building them from scratch, or taking the leadership of it when they've never done it before. Many of them said they don't have a creative bone in their body, they don't know how, but that doesn't stop it, because if you leave someone who's unchallenged, they will never know what they're capable of doing.
For those of you who are already in ministry context and you can't get loyal volunteers, I hear that all the time. The first thing that Ruthie's suggesting that you do, after you share the heart of the vision, which is important, share the heart, why you're doing what you're doing, not necessarily what you're doing, but why are you doing it. The second thing is to give them a sense of ownership. We're in partnership, not you're working to do what I'm asking you to do. I think that's really the big deal, and that's why so many leaders end up saying things like, well, I can't get nobody to help me, I'm doing it by myself, or I better do it by myself because they can't do it right. Or, you know, I hear it a million times, and I always think when people say that, you don't really know how to treat your volunteers. You don't really see them as co-workers, you see them as subordinates. So in order for people to come alongside your vision, they literally have to come alongside you, not behind you. And yes, you are a leader, but we lead like this.
Yes.
We lead arm in arm like this. And so perhaps some of you who are saying, I can't find a trustworthy team, it's because the people who work alongside you feel like they're working for you instead of working with you. And I've tried and I've failed many times, but I try to make sure that the people who work with me feel empowered and to make decisions and to creatively suggest things that I won't shoot down just because and sometimes there are pretty dumb ideas. Just because
Yes, there are some.
Don't tell anybody I said that. But you know, the best ideas sometimes don't come from me. I know I had to stop for a minute and think, is that, sometimes the better ideas come from other people. And if we don't shut up and listen, sometimes we miss it. Now, you'll always have those volunteers who feel they know everything.
Yes.
Can't take correction, can't take advice, gets mad all the time. How do you handle those people?
I definitely don't pull teams together that are friendship related sometimes, because not all your best teams are friends.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Hold on. Sila and stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So you want to find people, you have to be watchful and mindful of people's capacities and their talents. The one thing is, if you give them too much of something, you're overwhelming them and they will totally withdraw. But if you don't challenge them enough, then
they'll get bored.
They'll get bored and they'll leave. They'll walk away. You know, you give a manly guy, you know, to hot glue something, he's like, a girl could do this. And we've had that. They want power tools.
I resent that.
You know, but you gotta challenge them. So it's a medium. You have to be watchful as a leader, as a person who's pulling together. Just be mindful of their capacity
And
and their strengths. No, talk to them. And how you're gonna find that out is really working alongside them and talking to them. Once you're giving them that kind of level of responsibility, you nurture it. And bring in some experience that you don't, like I said, you don't drop a big project and walk away and say they got this, and then when it doesn't happen, you're like, it's not my fault. That's not how it works here.
Yeah. I love that. Ultimately, it is your fault.
Yes.
If you're in charge, it's your fault,
It's your
right?
fault.
So it's in our best interest as leaders to always make sure that the people that we work with feel valued, feel important, know that what we're doing couldn't be done the way it's being done without their input. But for those of you who are right now struggling being a one-man team, I just feel an unction right now to tell you, get over it. Do what you can while you can. And when God sees you faithful with just that little bit of energy, a little bit of resource, He's gonna add people to you. But you must pursue a vision with passion. When people don't see you alive and passionate about something, how on earth are they going to get alive and passionate about it? People will always follow the leader. As the head goes, so goes the body. I know when I walk into this office, if I'm in a bad mood, everybody's like, huh. Especially Fanny. I'm like, so I have to really, even if I got the worst phone call on the way here, if somebody ticked me off majorly on the way here, if I was misunderstood on the way here, it doesn't matter. I've got to try my best to push that down before I walk in that door. You know, and then give people the best side of me. Now, it doesn't mean it's always easy or I'm always happy, because human beings are human beings. But if you're gonna lead, sometimes you lead in spite of yourself.
That's good.
Right? In spite of you. So if you're alone, take this preacher girl's advice. You're not, Yana, you're not alone. You have a whole community of us sitting right here that is a resource I would have given a left arm for, because just somebody to say, what do you think about this idea? Do you think that could work? I have 0 people trying to help me. How do I raise money for Christmas plays? Trust me, been there, done that. If you are trying to do it, chances are somebody here has done it before. All right, Ruthie, let's keep going. We're almost out of time already, but I still want her to answer a couple more questions about teams. Because even if you don't have a team, if you're called to lead, one day you will have a team. This is something I've noticed in other teams and other places. We tend to value what we see as our strengths that are in other people. So for instance, if we're a great talker, the people who are great talkers, we gravitate to them and think that they will be great. And when we don't see the guy who might be a really fantastic window washer, but ultimately he turns out to be the most valuable person on our team. How do we, despite our personalities, learn to see value in everyone? How do you do that? How do you show appreciation practically to people who might not be like you?
I gotta say, a thank you goes a long way. Acknowledgement. Let them know that, you see them. You may give a menial task, like take out the garbage, or like you said, I'm not always the one. Like I see people, I love Excel spreadsheets, and I'm an Excel guru. I love it because I can Excel my whole life on a spreadsheet, and I probably do. But not everybody loves Excel, and not because they do that, that doesn't mean they're any less. They're not more organized than me or better at something. However they bring you what they bring you, acknowledge it. You have to say thank you. You have to say, wow, that's great. I appreciate it. It goes such a long way. A little bit of love, appreciation for their effort. Don't knock what somebody has tried, because that's all their might. That's all they're probably able to do at that point. But you can help them grow into the next level.
One of the marks of great leadership is the ability to recruit and bring people alongside you, like we already talked about. So if I give someone a title at Hope, and a year down the road, they're still the only one in that position, nobody else is helping because nobody can do it as good as they can do it. They've recruited 3 people that spend 2 weeks, get bored, and leave. I realize that there is a leadership, breach.
Yeah.
That there is a problem in their leadership style, or there's a problem, maybe they're called to be a follower, or perhaps they're not sure how to maintain a team.
Yeah.
So for instance, let's use photography. If you're a photographer and I say I want you to take pictures for this event, every leader knows your next step is to get two people with cameras to come alongside you, because not, you know what that does, that causes your job to expand, and it gives you different perspectives.
Yes.
And it gives you the opportunity to sow into someone else what God has sowed into you, which is what we're called to do.
Right.
So is the idea of reproducing yourself, replicating your ministry, a big deal when it comes to volunteers to you? Is that a big deal?
I think so. I absolutely agree. Replicating what we do is a big deal, because how are we going to grow the kingdom? We're here to make workers and to populate the harvest. And if there are more of us doing it, it's less work. It's a fist is better than a finger. Mm-hmm. We always say that. So, it's less pointing and it's more teamwork. There's no I in teamwork, and you want to replicate lots of puns there. You want to replicate what you do. And they can do it better. Oftentimes someone comes in, more knowledge, more experience, they have a different perspective.
How do you deal with that? I mean, I personally, myself, I love that. People don't know that about me, but I pray that into the ministry. I see send people who can do it better. People get confused with that with me, right? But that's how I've always prayed and still do pray. But what about people who are like in a power struggle right now, and if they see anybody starting to do it better, they're like, eh. How do you deal with that? What do you do when somebody who's a better crew than you comes along?
I hand them over the book. You have to take yourself out of it. And that comes from a selfish. If you're feeling that, you have to push that down. That's definitely, I feel that's the enemy trying to tell, because there is something better for you. If God closes a door, he opens another one, another opportunity. That feeling like someone's trying to take over, or what we call in the world stepping on your toes. There's no toes here. What are we stepping on? Honestly, there's no toes. It's working together. They can do it better. Encourage them to do it better. You have to really push aside that feeling of, oh my God, they're taking over, they're pushing me out.
Isn't that like a typical church thing though?
Yes.
That everybody like treats the position like it's sacred or something like that. And when God sent you help in such a way that it would only enhance the ministry. Do you know that most gymnastics teachers can't do a somersault? But yet they train these girls to do all these ridiculous things, because and that's what I kind of feel. They don't give up on teaching gymnastics because somebody that can do it comes along.
Right.
And so being a leader doesn't necessarily mean you know all the answers. It just means you're able to mobilize a team properly. Mm-hmm. And we've learned today that you do that by, one, ascertaining what people's strengths are and putting them in those positions of their strengths. Two, by recognizing their value and their contributions to the team and showing gratitude for that as much as possible. And then to this one that we just talked about, which is allowing people who are better than you at what you do to excel in the team as well. I like all of those pieces of advice, and there were so many more in there that I couldn't even remember off the bat. And Ruthie is a wealth of information. I know that if I give her an idea, she can pretty much get it done. She's good at bringing a whole bunch of strangers together and finding out where they fit. And sometimes the things that we give you to do are just freakishly impossible. Like, Ruthie, can you close down a New York street, which may cost the city about $10 million, and so I could just parade stuff down the street and dance and sing? Pretty much that's what a parade is. And do you think you could do that while I drag a 40-foot manger that says Jesus is Lord? And she'll be like, give me some time. I'll see what I can do. When you get a huge thing like that dumped on you, what's your first instinct? And this will translate into your ministry. No matter what it is, it'll translate. How do you attack a big piece of cheese like that?
What is she saying right now is my first thought. I'm like, good Lord. But I know if Pastor says it, God dropped it in your spirit. And I know it's coming from a place. Don't be quick to say no to a thing. Don't be quick to put all the no. It's easy. The no's are easy. The possibilities are why it can't happen. But why not? Why not ask? Don't be afraid of the no. I think that's the biggest thing. Why I make a phone call to ask for a permit. Why I keep going is because what if it happens? That will blow my mind. And I love the fact that it's just so extravagant and so crazy that it's a possibility. And I want the possibility.
How many times will you hear a no before you accept it?
I don't know. I don't know. I keep pushing. Like just recently, crazy enough, we wanted a billboard, and another large law firm, which I'm not going to say their name, has it, and I said, I'm going to call them and talk to them and say, why not give it up for me for 3 weeks? It's a shot in the dark, but why not? I called, I pleaded, I bartered, but at the end they said no. Did that stop me? It hurt a little bit because I was like, oh man, how could you say no to me? But it's okay because it wasn't the right one. Yeah, but it wasn't the right one for us. And I had to believe that if that door closes, something else is going to open, or if that's a no for that, then it's a no for now. And just know that no is for this season or for that moment, and then ask or find another way. There are many avenues that will get us to the right way, and God's directing every step, because if it's His idea, it's His bill, and it's His way, and He's going to make it happen. So I've learned that from you, because it was very easy for me to take a no in the secular world and just say, okay, no, it's okay. But when you're doing kingdom work, when you're doing ministry work, it's a greater responsibility. It's a bigger responsibility. It's a bigger thing that when it doesn't happen, you feel a piece of you. You feel it. So I really do take it seriously, and I know many of you PGs do the same thing when you hear a no. But I encourage you to keep pressing and keep going.
So whatever it is your project is, whatever seed that God has put in your belly, whether it's that novel that you've meant to write, whether you've just been called into full-time ministry, whether you're a pulpit pastor or an evangelist, or whether you're an entrepreneur or a mompreneur, or whatever it is you are. And right now it seems like an insurmountable mountainous task. What Ruthie is saying to you is that don't accept no. If God put it in your spirit, He's going to leave an open door. It's just up to you to find which one He's left open. And it may mean knocking on quite a few before you get to the one that's your access, but it's going to be the right one. So whatever it is that you've been knocking at, whatever it is you're seeking God for, I just want to encourage you today to keep pushing towards that. For those of you who don't have a team yet, who are looking to mobilize people, pray them into your life. For those of you who have a bunch of people who are lazy and won't do anything, maybe instead of labeling them as lazy and uncommitted and stuff like that, put some of the things that she's told you into practice. So begin to practice gratitude, and begin to practice affirming people. Begin to practice looking for the skill set and the giftings in people, and then giving them opportunities to put those gifts to work. And when you do that and people have that sense of, wow, like Ruthie said, I did it, then they want to do more. When they feel acknowledged, when they feel accepted, when they feel believed in, then people will always do more. And when they see you encouraging others, you teach them your job is now encourage somebody else. Because every job goes faster. If you're a leader, then be okay with people not doing it perfectly all the time. Nobody's gonna remember, and as long as it doesn't hurt somebody physically, emotionally, or spiritually to where they leave Christ, we're good. We're good. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to jump into the PG community, and I have a very special gift. We have a brand new bracelet, right? It's a special edition Christmas bracelet. I'm gonna show it to you later on the live, but it's gonna go to one of you who gets on the community and shoots a question to Ruth that pertains to your current ministry position or life position, and the issues that you're having. 1, with sharing the vision. 2, with recruiting leaders. 3, with keeping volunteers involved. Whatever it is your ministry context is, if you think that Ruthie can speak to it, I will choose the best question that, let's see, gets the most comments or gets the most engagement, and you will win the very, 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 very beautiful and exclusive PG Christmas bracelet. Nobody's seen it yet. You'll see it in a few days. But jump in there and leave a comment. If this has been a good podcast for you, will you please like it and share it on your Facebook? If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, click the subscribe button, and every Tuesday morning there'll be a new podcast right here for you. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Ruthie, for being on our podcast. We did not plan this.
No.
I came to work this morning and she was twinning me, and she wore my sweater and we were like, I'm like, what? Same color pants, same color shoes. The only thing we're not wearing is the same color shoes. But
great minds think alike.
Yeah, maybe that.
Maybe that.
Or maybe we both think we look great in yellow. Anyway, I just want to remind you though, I love you, and if God called you, then no one can uncall you.